Some great new inventory we got in. Oh my goodness. I tell you, I just keep getting more and more surprised. And it's not all about, understand, when I tell you about new inventory on the show, it's not all about the high dollar stuff. It's affordable stuff as well too. We just pick what we like and what's cool. And one of them we got in, which I have a real fondness for these cars, is the 2006 Jaguar XK8 Coupe. Platinum silver metallic over black, 67,000 actual miles. So it's not low mileage, but it's not crazy high either. It's still got a lot of life left in it. 4.2 liter V8, lots of recent service records and all the stuff that you want when you buy, especially when you buy a foreign car, either a British car or a German car, BMW, Mercedes, Porsche, Jaguar, all those. And the reason being is they're more expensive to fix, generally speaking, than a domestic car, than a General Motors or a Ford or a Chrysler. I know the line is blurred on that quite a bit, but still, Mercedes is generally more expensive to work on than a Ford. A Jaguar more expensive to work on
in general. That's right.
In
exactly.
general than a Chrysler.
Right.
The parts don't have to be sent across the pond. They're more readily available. There's more of them sold. So at the scale of size and all that. So, but if you find one that's got all the right service records and been well maintained and all that, then hey, jump in. But don't go to an auction and start raising your hand for a $5,000 Jaguar, because you're going to get a $5,000 Jaguar, and the next check that you write will be significantly more than the $5,000 you wrote to buy the car. Yeah, and that's to fix the exhaust or to do this or do the tranny or whatever.
There's no such thing as a cheap luxury car.
There really isn't. They're not cheap. If they're cheap, that's a problem.
Right.
You know. Now, if you find a 2005 Mercedes-Benz SCL sedan and it's got 25,000 original miles and it's got service records and the guy's owned it since new and it's got a clean Carfax and all that good stuff, then yeah, that's a great car. But you're going to pay for that one. It's not going to be cheap. Right. And just understand that, do you want to pay it now or do you want to pay it over the next year? Exactly. And have the car in the shop and all the other things. So it's important to know that. But this Jag XK8 Coupe, what a great body style. What a cool looking car. A lot of bang for the buck, if you will.
Great car.
Also in inventory, the 2004 Dodge Ram 1500 4x4 SLT Rumble Bee. Yes. Solar yellow over dark slate gray.
They sure are.
I think Peter wrote this. He called it retina searing solar yellow paint.
That's cool. He's right. He's right.
So this one's got 51,000 actual miles. They only build them for 2 years. 5-speed automatic. And this was a really kind of a specialty item. I don't know how many of them they made, but they didn't make a whole lot of them. And they were pretty expensive. And they got a 5.7 liter Hemi in them. So they're no slouch. I mean, that's a lot of power for that. And that was the most powerful Hemi that they had at the time, the 5.7 liter V8 in 2004. Because when did the Hemi come back? What was that? 2001? Was the Charger came back? Golly,
I'll have to do some. I'll ask AI and then get back to you.
Please do. Well, I think you're writing all these things. You would know.
I should know that. The more I know, the less I can be sure of.
Back to new inventory.
Yes, sir.
69 Chevrolet Camaro Coupe, Marina blue over white, fully restored. Date correct, 427 cubic inch V8, not the factory. It didn't come with a 427. We're not claiming it did. It's date correct, meaning that it was built in that era or when a 69 engine would have been built, which usually would have been somewhere between October and September of October of the previous year and September of that year. So October of 68 to September of 69. It would have fallen into that date. A Tremec TKX 5-speed manual, 12-bolt 373 True Track posi rear end. Striking color combo. That Marina blue is really a beautiful color. It really is. I mean, it's a show and go right and that sounds cliched.
I say it all the time. I love it. I try not to use it too often in the descriptions, but show and go is a great way to
yeah.
It's a great description.
Well, and you got to get past what I used to do a lot. I would always say, runs and drives great. Other new inventory, 1957 Chevrolet 210 two-door sedan, gypsy red over beige and tan. That's got a 6.2 liter LS3, as we were just talking about, 430 horsepower. 4L60E automatic transmission, classic auto air. This thing is Restomod or a custom. Yeah. It's jewelry. I mean, it's really nicely done. Willwood disc brakes, got an updated suspension. It looks like a it's got the mid-range trim packages. There was a 150, the 210, and the Bel Air back in 55, 6, and 7. And 210, this one is the mid-range. And a lot of people use this when they customize them because they don't want to tear up a Bel Air.
Right.
And of course, it costs them more to go buy the Bel Air in the first place. So you buy a 210 or a 150, and then you make it look like a Bel Air, but with, higher horsepower engine and modern conveniences and heat and air and nice brakes and radial tires and yada, yada, yada.
I really like the base and mid-range Tri-5s.
Yeah.
They're cool in their own way.
Yeah, I think that, and this one's interesting, the guy won it in a raffle.
Oh, really?
I don't know where the raffle was, but... And then he put a LS3 in it and kind of went crazy with it. And some other new inventory in the 1930 Cadillac Series 353 sedan, silver and black over burgundy. That silver and black is stunning. I mean, that is a great color for that car.
Sure is.
For any of those pre-war type cars, silver and black. And I'm not always a big two-tone fan on cars. Right. Especially newer, later model stuff. I don't really care for that so much. But on these old Cadillacs and Packards, Duesenbergs, all of those, man, it really, really works. And this thing is expertly restored. 353 cubic inch L head V8. You think about V8s in Cadillac started in 1915.
Right.
Chevrolet, 1955 was their first V8 that they offered.
Right, and I was doing we have a Cole, and we'll probably get to that at some point, and that has the engine. Nope. Didn't work. You gotta hit it once.
Oh well, I don't
hit it once. There
okay,
you go.
Now you can still hear me.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, it's not plugged in.
That's because I cut it off.
It's not plugged in.
That might have something to do with it.
It's just a freestanding box.
Yeah, like I expected to somehow. How do it know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, come on. Why isn't it working? There's no cords connected.
Anyway, the engine builder for Cadillac built the engine.
For the Cole.
In the Cole as well.
Yeah,
so
1916 is the Cole. 1915, first year for the Cadillac V8. And of course, by 1930, they were heavily into the V8s and V12s and V16s as well, too. But this thing is really, the quality and the style and just the whole 9 yards, this car is it's just right there, too, right? It's just right across from us.
It's on that line, yep.
It's on the front line, we like to say. Along with the Cole is up there. And the Cole is really interesting. Again, we'll talk about it probably next week. But this Cadillac, Cadillac V8s introduced actually in 1914 for the 1915 models, I think, is when they were available. And then the V12 and V16 were introduced in 1930, same year as this car came out. And this is just a V8. Just a V8, but hey, in 1930, that was a lot of engine. Of course, that car weighs... I don't know, 5,000 or 6,000.
What was the concept of a V16? It's just like twice as many cylinders is better?
Smooth. It's like having a 10,000 watt amplifier. If you only run it at 100 watts, it's the crispest, cleanest sound you'll ever have. If you've got a 100 watt amplifier and you run it at 100 watts, it's going to be,
Okay.
So it's more efficient at 10 or
lower RPM. You could do,
Plus, this 353 here, you note here, it's had 96 horsepower.
Which was a lot in 1930.
That's
what did
right.
the Model A have in 1930? 30, 40, I think.
If that, yeah.
So double. And again, it probably weighed quite a bit.
Right.
But they were two-door coupes, convertibles, four-door sedans, town sedans, imperial sedans, Fleetwood Phaetons, and Roadsters. These things, God, there was every kind of body style. You could really pick and choose what you wanted. You could custom architect.
And they have long names.
Yeah. Yes. But you could customize these cars to any way you wanted them, really.
Right.
You could you could order a Cadillac, and then you could send the Cadillac, the chassis and the motor and the suspension and all that off to one of the body companies, a Fleetwood or any of those, and they'll build you exactly what you want, whatever you want. You want this with, you want a big air scoop right here. You want this, you want that. Sure. Golf club doors.
It was the Cadillac of motor cars back in the day.
The Cadillac of Cadillacs.
That's right.
So
it really was.
Anyway, you get a chance to see that Cadillac. It's really stunning. Last but not least, the 1959 Nash Metropolitan Series 4 hardtop. Have you seen this little thing? It is so cool. These Metropolitans
they're really cool. They have a big following, too.
They really do.
Really enthusiastic.
Yeah.
The Lois Lane car.
Yeah, the Lois Lane car. This thing is really nicely restored. It's got a 1,489 cc Austin 4-cylinder. I didn't realize that. So, I didn't really know much about them until I started reading.
Exactly.
But it's a 3-speed manual tranny. We like to say small car, big fun. And you can drive it around through the mallway if you want it. Although we discourage that because of the fumes.
That's right. We don't start them up.
We try not to start them up. That's where the Stringo comes in.
We've got sort of a run of these small and micro cars. It's a lot of fun. That little Honda we talked about a couple weeks ago.
And the Auto Bianchi Fiat that we just sold.
Yeah, and a couple 500s we have.
Yeah,
and
the Messerschmitt.
And the Isetta.
The Isetta,
well.
that's right.
A lot of cool little cars in the mall.
You know, it's funny. The people, I talk to people who collect microcars, and they do it because they can get 3 cars in the space of one.
Yeah.
You take that big Cadillac, you can put 3 of those microcars in the same space, or motorcycles as well too.
That's
people
right.
collect them because of their space limitations. So, but this thing is, if you want a fun, unique little car, that'd be great to take to car shows or down to the drive-in to get ice cream or whatever. This is the perfect car for it. And people. It's amazing. You pull up in a Nash Metropolitan and people will flock to it.
That's right. You could have a Hemi Cuda and it would get ignored.
More people would be looking at that. Absolutely.
You've been listening to the Classic Auto Mall podcast with your host, Stewart Howden.